What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Red Music Sound Lab. You're back on the red seat with me, your host, Daniel Red. So, the time has finally come for Red Music Sound Lab to do a mic shoot. Now, before we get into the mic shoot and before we get into all the cool stuff, let's hold our horses here, okay? There's a concept that I'm going to take here. We got to crawl before we walk, and we got to walk before we run. Okay, so with that being said, I want to explain to you the process that I'm going to take here at Red Music Sound Lab so that we can get very well acquainted when we're actually doing mic shootouts. Because like you, I watch a lot of mic shootouts in many other channels, and sometimes I feel like I actually don't get the information that I want to get or the correct information that I want to get before I purchase a microphone. And like many of us, we end up spending money on buying this microphone and that microphone and all these other microphones, thinking that we're gonna get this cool microphone that we never had before, the sound and all this. And so let's bring it down a notch. Let's get to know the microphones and make an informed decision, right? Now, the method or the approach that I'm taking with these mic shootouts is mics or microphones have to record music, right? Now, what is music? Music is defined as an art that is put together by melody, harmony, and rhythm, okay? So a mic is supposed to record a melody, maybe vocals, guitar solos, different things like that, right? The other thing is harmonies, like pianos, instruments that produce harmonies, okay? And then the other, rhythm, right? Drums, percussion, different things like that, okay? So when I started thinking about how I want to do my microphone shootouts, I want to see, or I want to check the versatility of microphones, right? I know sometimes we only want vocal microphones, or sometimes we only want instrument microphones, or sometimes we only want, sometimes we only want microphones that are dedicated to percussion, right? So with me in this channel, you're gonna get what I believe is a good idea as to how these microphones react and do with every single part of the music chain, okay? Now, with that said, there's a very wrong way to do a shootout. There's a wrong way to do a shootout. There's a pretty good way to do a shootout. And I think this is the first channel where I can actually call it the Red Music Sound Lab microphone shootout way, right? So what's the very wrong way? The very wrong way is you have a few microphones a few feet apart, right? And you have the vocalist trying one microphone in this part of the room, then try this microphone in the other part of the room, and then try another microphone in the other part of the room. Now, why is that the very wrong way? Number one, different parts of the rooms are going to give you different acoustic response to that room, right? So now we don't know if we're hearing the difference in room, the difference in performance, or a variation of that, right? So, in my opinion, very wrong way to do it. Let's not do mic shootouts that way, right? The wrong way to do it is you have the singer. Oh, and the other thing too, when you move from mic to mic, what distance is that performer from the microphone, right? In this first microphone, maybe they were 6 inches away. In this microphone, maybe they were a whole foot away. And the other microphone, maybe a foot and a half away, right? Each of those differences is going to yield a different result. So it's a very wrong way to do it, right? The wrong way to do it is you have a performer sing to the different microphones. Maybe keep the same position, but you have a different microphone. What's the problem with that? The problem with that is we don't know if we're hearing a performance difference or if we're hearing a mic difference, right? Because every performance is different. we human beings are imperfect, right? So sometimes what we're hearing in our headphones, and this actually happened when I was recording for the mic Shootout here, because, excuse me while I wipe away a little bit of my perspiration. Gets hot in this room a little bit. Anyway, so it happened in the studio, right? I was recording one of the vocalists, and she got excited when she started hearing a different microphone, right? And she started singing harder and started feeling it a little bit more, right? So vocalists or performers, they will do that, right? If they hear something better, they hear something rich, it's gonna bring something out in them, right? So we don't know now if we're hearing a better performance or we're hearing a difference in microphone response, right? So that's another wrong way to do it. And again, let's say you keep the singer in the same position. What about when you switch the shock mount and the microphone? Did you keep the same position as the other one, or did you change it? The position meaning the distance between the microphone and the performer, and the difference as to where it was capturing, right? Right here in the mask of the face, okay, you're gonna get a different tone than down here or even right here, right? Same goes with acoustic guitars and pianos and other instruments. You shift those microphones and it's gonna change the frequency response and the tonal response, okay? So that's why it's a wrong way to do it. Now, a pretty damn good way to do a shootout is when you have all the microphones that you want to compare, pointing at the same performance and capturing the same performance at the same time, right? Now, the only issue I have with that method is this. I think once you change a microphone position, whether they're like this, upside down, right? We're kind of changing the pickup pattern of the microphone, right? Because every microphone has a distance where the pattern, the pickup pattern will react differently, right? So if I'm right here at the center of the microphone, if I move a little bit to here, maybe the pickup pattern picks up to here, right? But as soon as I move here, it kind of changes the tonality of the microphone, right? So I feel like when you have that many microphones put together, you're gonna change. You might run into some tonality changes, right? Maybe later on we can test that hypothesis, right? But in my belief or in my opinion, I think we might have those issues. Now, what's the Red Music Sound Lab way? Let me tell you. Okay, now first, what we're gonna do is a factor analysis. Now, some people think this goes to the scientific method. The scientific method is the question that we're asking, which is which microphone sounds best, or what is the difference between each microphone, right? After you ask that question, then you try and find out how we're gonna run the test, right? And then we're gonna ask after the test whether or not these yielded the results that we thought it should yield, right? So the scientific method is just a question as to what we want to know. The factor analysis is, okay, we need to eliminate as many variables as possible, right? So this is what we've been talking about so far, right? Where in the room we're gonna put it, how far from the mic are we gonna have every performer? How are we gonna turn many performances into one performance, right? So we can have the same performance each and every time, right? And if we're gonna have just one performance each and every time, how are we gonna capture that one performance, okay? So we need to eliminate as many variables or factors as possible so that the only factor or the only variable is the microphone that we want to listen to, okay? So how are we going to ensure that the microphone is the only factor? Well, we're gonna take different performers. We're gonna record them through the same mic, right? Whoa, wait. Which mic? Because a lot of mics have different frequency response, right? Well, I thought about it very thoroughly, right? And it's true. A lot of microphones have different frequency response, right? Especially microphones, condenser microphones, studio condenser microphones tend to have some sort of height to them in the upper frequency range, right? Not all of them are, a flat frequency response, because they want to have a tonality to them. They want to have a little height to them, right? So I did a lot of research, guys, and I finally came up to one microphone, and that is this microphone right here, Earthworks QTC 30. Okay. Now, the Earthworks QTC 30 is a flat frequency mic. It picks up from, I think, 4 to 5 hertz all the way up to 30 kilohertz, right? This is a huge frequency response, right? And the craziest thing is, this is a flat frequency response. It doesn't hype anything up, right? It's supposed to be a microphone that what it hears is pretty much what should be in the room, right? Now, from what I've seen myself after recording with this microphone, I think it's just a flat frequency response. I don't think it gets very intimate to the point where you feel like you're in the room with the performer. But it definitely has no height, but it's still full sounding, right? Because a lot of cheaper microphones, what they'll do is either the bass will roll off very, very quickly, or it just doesn't capture the full body of the bass frequencies, right? So I feel like this microphone remains full, right? Remains flat, and it captures a very accurate picture of what's going on in that room, right? Not an intimate picture, but a very accurate picture of what's happening in that room. Okay, so we've set one mic, right? Now, how are we gonna maintain the performer to keep the same performance throughout the whole thing? Well, I'll tell you what I did, okay? What I did was I purchased a PreSonus Scepter 8 speaker, okay? Now, when you get a speaker, right, if we're gonna record through the speaker, we're gonna play back through the speaker that same performance, we run into a few issues. We run through, like, my monitors behind me, right? They're biamped, meaning they have 2 speakers, right? A woofer and a tweeter, right? The issue, we don't know at what distance the microphone will start actually capturing the full frequency range, right? So the Scepter 8s fix that issue because it's a coaxial speaker, meaning the woofer and the tweeter are aligned as best as possible so that the full frequency response comes out right at the same time, right? And so I looked at some other coaxial speakers. There's not very many out there. I found one that was very expensive, the Genelex. And while I want to give you the best shootout ever with the best possible outcome ever, yeah, over $2,000 ain't gonna happen, guys. Not right now. Maybe later on, if this channel takes off, we get more subscribers and we become a bigger community, right? But for right now, I couldn't swing that. The other speakers are the Gold 8. I forget the actual brand name. I'll put it somewhere up here. Okay. I looked into those, but it seemed like those were very colored speakers, and it wasn't up to par for me, in my opinion, right? So I decided to stay with the Scepter 8s. I did try and do a mod to upgrade some of the components, but the company that I usually go with, they said, nah, we're staying away from that one. Those are very complicated speakers, and we don't want to touch those. So you know what? We got some stock. We got a stock Scepter 8 here, and that's what we're gonna work with, right? We got to work with what we have. Okay. So I finally started doing the Shootout, right? I recorded every performer with the same microphone, the QTC 30, Earthworks QTC 30. Now, to ensure that every performer was caught near the same way, what I made sure of is that the microphone was the same distance from every performer. Now, how do I know it was the same distance? Because I used the same ruler. There's actually a leveler, but it's 6 inches long, right? So what I made sure was I put the leveler right to their nose, and then the tip of the microphone right here. The other thing, I pointed the microphone right at the bridge of their nose, right? For me, or I think for many singers, they refer to it as the mask, right? This is the mask. As many singers refer to it, right? This is where most of your resonance is actually happening. It's not happening from your mouth. Your resonance is actually coming from here and from here, right? So I decided to capture this part of the face or the vocalist. Okay, so every vocalist was measured through this, right, which is about 6 inches, and it was pointed here. For the guitars, I make sure that every guitar was the same distance away. I took this, which is my Blueberry mic case cover, and I angled it to where the body and the neck of the guitar meet, right around there. So it would be like between the 12th and 14th fret. I was pointing at an angle, so not only did it capture the fretboard, right, but it also captured more of the body of the guitar as well, right? So every guitar was measured and recorded the same way. Every guitar, all 3 guitars were recorded the same way. Drums, same thing. They were recorded approximately 4 feet above the drum, and they were pointed right where about the kick drum shell meet near the snare, right? So that one doesn't really matter because there's only one drum set, okay? But this is what we're trying to do, right? We're eliminating every factor. We're standardizing, right? We're making everything standard to one thing, okay? So that at the end of the day, when we start hearing these microphones play back, hopefully the only factor that we're hearing is the microphone itself. That microphone went straight into my interface, my Apogee Quartet, okay? The Apogee Quartet, I feel like even an Apogee representative said is probably one of the best interfaces for the price or for the class that it stands on. I'm going to tend to agree. I ran quite a few tests in the studio, including the actual interface, and that thing keeps up pretty well, right? It might not be like super high fidelity and stuff like that, but once you start going into that realm of fidelity, it gets pretty expensive. And again, I'm just starting out in YouTube, right? And my studio is not, this major studio where I'm gonna have these very expensive pieces of equipment, right? In fact, this channel is tailored for actual home studios, right? So we got to keep with that, right? We got to keep up with that concept, okay? So I'm gonna go once again because I'm a little hot again. Woo! Woo! All right, so once we got the microphone, then we had the speaker, okay? I started doing some analyzing and everything, and I did a 1 kilohertz sine wave tone because I wanted to see if the microphones were adding any harmonics. Turns out that once you're doing microphone harmonics, the room, you're going to get harmonics, right? Without even adding preamps or anything like that. So that didn't really do anything for me or revealed anything for me. But what I did find was as I moved the microphone the distance-wise, right? So I centered the capsule to the center of the tweeter of the Scepter 8s. And then what I started doing was, initially, I wanted to keep it the same distance. But as I moved the microphone front and back, I was finding, or I was seeing that I was almost getting full phase cancellation depending on the distance that the microphone was from the speaker. So instead of keeping the microphone at a set distance from the speaker, what I ended up doing was I put the microphone at a distance where it almost fully canceled out, right, with the 1 kilohertz sine wave, right? In my opinion, what that tells me is this is where the microphone is truly capturing, this is where the source, right, is truly being captured by the microphone and not much of the speaker or anything else, right? There's always going to be that factor in there, but this is where the microphone is at its best or at its peak or performing or doing most of the work rather than catching something else, right? So that's what I ended up doing, okay? Now, what did this all come to? Okay, this is what it all comes down to. My videos or my shootouts are gonna be about a 4-part, 5-part, maybe even 6-part series of videos. My part 1 is gonna be the analysis, okay? We're gonna do a pink noise analysis, right? This is where we're actually gonna be able to tell what the frequency response is of the mic. Is it brighter? Is it darker? Is it duller, right? We're gonna, because pink noise is kind of the standard of like audio analysis, right? I was researching, I thought about white noise, but after doing my research, I came to find out that pink noise is a benchmark and a standard for audio analysis. So we're gonna do a pink noise analysis, right? Then we're gonna do a simple click track analysis, right? We wanna see what the transient response is of every microphone, and we can clearly see how well the microphone reconstructs the waveform of that click track, right? The other thing, we're gonna move to another click track that's a little more complicated. It has like a click track with a little bell and something else. And it's not only like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's more like right? So quicker transient, right? Different tones and all of that stuff. So we're really gonna get to know the microphones and what they're doing. Okay. Now, part 2, vocals, that melody, right? We're gonna start with the melody part of the music. Okay. Now for you, I didn't bring 1 vocalist. I didn't bring 2, not even 3. I brought 4. I brought 4 vocalists for all of you, okay? 2 females, 2 males. 1 male voice is myself, okay? And then I got another male voice, good friend of mine, and 2 females as well, okay? That might turn into a 2-part depending on how long the video might be. Okay, but 2 male vocals, 2 female vocals. I really want to make sure that when you hear these microphones, you really get to know the characteristics of this mic and whether or not it's going to work for you at your place of business or at your studio or wherever you're going to be recording with these microphones, right? So that's going to be part 2, the vocals. Part 3, okay, the harmony part. So I'm in a house, okay? Actually, I'm in a kind of a townhome, apartment kind of style. This is no place for a piano. I'll tell you that right now. So can't get a piano. Pianos are probably the best harmonic instrument to record because they're so complex, right? So I'm gonna do the next best thing, which is acoustic guitars. Okay, for you, I'll bring 3 different acoustic guitars. They're all gonna have the same strings. I got the Elixir Nano Web Phosphor Bronze HD strings. Okay, all the guitars are gonna have the same strings. So you're really only gonna hear a difference of the guitar and a difference of the microphones. Okay, the first guitar is a Ventura acoustic guitar, which is actually right here. You can kind of see it. This is a 70s acoustic guitar, Japanese actually. There's a pretty cool story to this guitar. I'll probably share with you maybe later on. The gist of it is I got it at a pawn shop. I had a guy kind of work on it, do a setup and refurbish it. And, you know, we'll see how it does, right? Next, I got the Taylor GS Mini Mahogany guitar. This is a smaller compact guitar, but, you know, it has a pretty good sound to it. And it amplifies pretty well. Not amplify as in connected to an amplifier, but for a small guitar to project, I think that's a better word. It projects pretty well, right? So the Taylor GS Mini. And lastly, the Martin LX1, the little Martin, okay? This is a pretty small guitar. I actually got it for my daughter a few years ago because I want her to learn guitar once she grows up a little bit. And I thought this was the better guitar. Now, here's the thing. It's a small guitar, so this guitar has trouble projecting, right? So we're gonna see how well some of these microphones are able to amplify the sound and make it project a little more than what it is, okay? And lastly, the drums, okay? I'm gonna play a quick beat on the drums, okay? I got a Gretchen Catalina drum set for you guys. Simple, like 18-inch kick, I believe a 12-inch tom and a 14-inch tom and a 14-inch snare, right? The snare is gonna be a Pearl, oh man, what's his name? Chad Smith. A Pearl Chad Smith signature series snare. Okay, and that's how we're gonna do the shootouts in this channel. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, I'm gonna post this video along with the other shootouts, or I'm gonna link this video to the other shootouts, just in case you know, some people just go to that video and don't know what's going on. Okay, so thank you for working with me, guys. Thank you for holding on there. Okay, this is a big journey. All right, and I really do hope that you get a lot out of my mic shootouts in this channel. Okay, so with that said, remember to like, subscribe, okay, all that good stuff. All right, without further ado, let's do some mic shootouts. All right, everyone, I'll see you in the next few videos. Take care. Bye.